Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Against the Grain podcast. I'm Josh Holbrook, here with my partner, Mike Irvin.
What's going on, guys?
It took too long to get back to it, Mike. What do you think?
Way too long, man.
Yeah, we needed to start knocking out some of these because I feel like I got more to say on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know about you, but I've been really having a lot of conversations, having a lot of heavy thoughts around the whole Charlie Kirk thing, some of the other issues that it's brought up.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Has it brought up conversations with people that you haven't talked to in a long time, or just people wanting to discuss the topic?
Yeah, and it really kind of changed my perspective on some people, I just don't know how people can openly celebrate the death of anyone, just because they disagree with what they said, and especially when they really didn't even know what he said. Took little tidbits here and there and ran with them. But, I'm not going to judge anybody. That's just not something that I would ever do.
Yeah, celebrating a death, especially a political assassination on live, on film like that is really pretty ugly, pretty awful stuff. I didn't have anybody in my friend group or circle or past that celebrated it. I had plenty of people who didn't really care for Charlie Kirk, and that's understandable because he was a very political guy. His politics were the only, his partisan politics were the only part of him that I didn't really care for.
Sure.
Not being a Republican or a Democrat, being somebody who's very anti-establishment, thinks our government is a necessary evil. His total single-mindedness about being a strong supporter for the Republican Party just was a bit of a turnoff for me.
Yeah, and I understand that. And that's probably part of the reason he became as big as he was. And, I never really liked his politics either. But I liked what he stood for. Just the open forum. He was always pretty respectful, and he was kind of not the nicest guy sometimes, but he was always nice until you weren't nice to him.
Yeah, there's certainly people he shut down. Certainly people he went real hard on when they would run afoul of his of the way he thought business should be conducted. But he also let lots and lots of people speak. He also told the people that were his supporters and were on his side in the crowd to be quiet and let people speak, even though they disagreed with him. I really appreciate that. Conversation is how we avoid open, violent conflict.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop, one of the things he said that I really agree with is when you stop having open dialogue, violence is getting ready to start.
Yeah.
And one of the places where the real divide that has popped up in my life is with black people, because there's a lot of black people who viewed him as racist.
Yeah.
When you have thousands, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours on film, you're going to say some things poorly, and there's definitely some cases where he did not do himself any favors. The one that pops out, there's several that pop out. The one about black pilots and affirmative action and DEI was one. We talked about if he saw a black pilot, he was going to wonder if they were qualified.
But is that racist?
No, it's always framed in the context of affirmative action and DEI, and I think one of the things that people miss about that is that those programs are racially biased towards black people.
Racist programs, if you will.
If they're race-based, they're racist to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's going to be people that don't like that, and that's okay. One of the things I want people to understand is that you can have a ton of love between two individual people that completely disagree on a topic.
Yeah.
And that's happened for me a bunch. People that I know and love, people whose family members that I've been to their funerals, people whose homes I've kind of grew up in, who completely have a different take on this than me.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But what I see on the periphery of those conversations where me and this person that obviously love each other are having an open public discussion is you get people coming in from the side and saying basically things like, you shouldn't even try with these people, meaning racist.
Yeah.
It's not annoying. It's farther than that. It's kind of heartbreaking to me because I do value conversations so much.
Right.
and so I've been having lots and lots of discussions with specifically black people that disagree with me, and it just brings me to the fact that I grew up in a nearly all black neighborhood. There's lots of black folks who are not just my friends, but who I consider brothers. And it's like one of those things where people can go ahead and call me a racist if they want to for my disagreement on DEI and affirmative action, and to me it has zero effect on me. And some people, that really messes them up when somebody calls them a racist. Yeah. But I just know for a fact that I've lived a life that is immune to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely immune. I love black people. Sometimes I feel more comfortable around black people than I do groups of white people because I just relate better in certain ways. The aggressive kind of open trash talk that's kind of a part of that culture is kind of something that's near and dear to my heart. The goofing around, it just fits me in a way that I love. Being in a gym, basketball gym, with people yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs is kind of something that like I love and thrive on, and people like my wife can't deal with.
Yeah.
You know, and so that part of the culture just is something I love. And again, I plenty of black guys who I consider my brothers, and ladies who I consider like my sisters. So I just wish that people could take the political disagreement and separate that from the people.
Yeah.
It's really hard for people to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a huge issue because, you know, as we both are, you know, we're not Trump supporters, but we did vote for Trump. I tell people I voted for Trump, and they think I'm a Nazi or that I'm a right-wing nut job, you know, and I think that's totally unfair, as is me saying someone that voted for Kamala is a total left-wing nut job. You know what I mean? It's just,
we have two awful choices when it comes down to it in a presidential election.
Yeah.
And I can't stand people who are super partisan, but I also can't stand people who view the other side as being evil because of the way that they think about politics in a different way than they happen to.
Right. And I think they think we think a certain way that we don't think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they think that we hold racist views or we hate certain groups of people. And look, we can have a fundamental disagreement with people who are in the alphabet community, the LGBTQ plus IA, whatever you want to, however many words you want to put on it. We can still love those people, treat them with dignity and respect, and not approve of the behavior.
Yeah. Same thing with the far right nut jobs, you know?
Yeah. And that's one of the things I've been trying to express to people that are wanting to call Charlie Kirk a racist. You're pushing people that support him. You're pushing on people that otherwise would not be racist. And you're pushing them towards people like Nick Fuentes. You know who Nick Fuentes is?
Probably a racist.
Well, he's a really young guy. He's actually very talented. He's really good at going on these monologues. But he's like the leader of this community they call the Groyper community. You ever heard that term?
Yep.
Yeah, he's the guy. But I mean, he's literally racist. He wants the United States to be 1950s idyllic, white people, white picket fence. He doesn't want to intermarry racially. He wants white people to marry white people, black people to marry black people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's open about it. He's also very anti-Semitic by his own admission. Like, he doesn't think Hitler did the job well enough.
Sheesh.
Yeah, you're pushing people that are not racist toward that camp and pushing them towards the way of thinking of those people. When you call people who disagree with you politically racist, when it's only a political disagreement. I mean, there's just so much evidence with Charlie Kirk that he wasn't. The Young Conservative Black Leaders Summit that he would hold, he brought so many young black leaders into the White House to be close to Trump. And yes, those people are conservative and they agreed with him politically, but that's who the people are that any political person is going to side with, is the people that agree with him. I mean, that's just common sense.
Yeah, I mean, those are people of color. If he was racist, he would not try to help those people.
Yeah. So have you been keeping up?
Obvious.
Have you been keeping up with any of the details around the government narrative of the supposed suspect, Tyler Robinson?
Unfortunately, yes. A lot of questions.
Yeah, I'll say that's at a minimum. I mean, I'll go farther right away before we even get to it. I'll just say flat out before we discuss the details that I don't think there's any way in the world that he's the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem so.
Not at all. I mean, it appears on the physical evidence that there's no way he could have been shot from the front with a 30-06 like they said.
Yeah, and I actually had that thought when it happened. I mean, that's not really what a gunshot from that caliber would look like.
When listening to people on the various social medias who are, snipers and trained special forces people, and also people that I know personally that are in that community, is if you shot somebody with a 30-06, that wound on the neck that we see is an entry wound, which it doesn't look like. But if it was, let's just say it was, a minimum is a golf ball size hole in the back of Charlie Kirk's head, blood all over the back of that tent.
Probably would have hit the people behind him.
The people behind him and taken his head nearly off. I mean, good, it would have been even more gruesome than it already was.
For sure. And I mean, the fact that there's no exit wound is fishy enough.
Well, I think the exit wound is what we saw.
Well, yeah, and we'll get into that.
I mean, that's what it would appear, is that the wound on the left side of his neck was the exit wound and the shot came from the right. And there's plenty of ballistics guys that are saying that. I mean, I've searched out some of the sound analysis from the various cameras that were there. They have 7 different cameras with rings of possibility of how far the sound was from them. Have you seen any of that analysis?
I did, yeah. You sent me that video.
And they all point to his right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, from my perspective, the very top of that building on his right is where I think it had to have come from.
So we saw quite a few things. Another being his microphone.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty far away from thinking that could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, it was very compelling, the video that I saw. But like I was saying, how do you know that this stuff isn't doctored?
There's a couple things about that get me. It's recoil. For one, if something was shooting from that lapel mic, the recoil would have pushed it down, and it went up. Okay. The other thing is, if the wound on the left side is the exit wound, that would have had to go up from the mic and then across. It would have had to change direction, which bullets do inside of people sometimes, but that seems like a very odd change direction in a part of the neck that doesn't have a lot of bone.
It hit his spinal cord and severed his spinal cord, so it could have deflected off the spinal cord. But I'm not saying I believe this. I'm saying it's a pretty compelling argument,
But the thing that seems clear is that it wasn't Tyler Robinson shooting from the top of the Lossy Center.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a screwdriver, but that kind of gun you can't just take apart and put back together. And what is it, like a 20-second window?
The fastest I saw it disassembled and reassembled was 53 seconds.
Yeah,
online, but that's by experts and people are doing it fast.
Right.
Okay, and he was running across the roof.
You need other tools. You can't just do that with a screwdriver.
A screwdriver and an Allen wrench is what you need.
Yeah.
And there's within 3 seconds of the shot, you can see him on video running. Oh, not him. We don't know if it's Tyler Robinson. You can see the individual who was up there running across the roof.
Right, and he sure doesn't look like he's holding a gun.
Something else I watched today that I had not noticed previously that someone pointed out was that in the video that shows him jumping off the roof, there's people walking on a path behind that building away from where he's going. They go behind a tree and disappear and don't come out the other side.
Oh, man.
So that just tells you. And also, there's some funny business about his shadow appearing, disappearing, and then reappearing on the video, which telltale signs.
This is where it gets hairy, man.
Yeah, telltale signs of it being doctored. Here's the other thing. If it was just that simple, as the government is saying, why cut us 5 seconds short of actually seeing him take the shot? If you're going to give us that video in the first place,
show it. Yeah, if they had it, they would show it.
It's in frame. It's in frame. Where he supposedly took the shot was in frame from that whole video of him jumping off the building. You can see the supposed point where he would have taken the shot from.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. But there's so much even more. The transcript of the text messages, they make no sense.
Insane. It sounds like AI scripted.
No sense. Not only young kids that are in their early 20s or even younger, nobody uses the terminology my love, vehicle, drop point, squad car. These are terms that those kids don't use. We don't even use those in our 40s. Right? We'd call it our car. Right?
Yeah.
We would say where we stashed the rifle.
Yeah.
We would call it a cop car, police car, 5-0, some kind of slang, right?
Yeah.
But the squad car, No, it does not ring true.
Yeah, and what do we say? You know, if there's too many coincidences, the probability of it being real is not very high.
All this is circumstantial and conjecture, but when you get piles and piles and piles of circumstantial evidence, then you kind of got to start leaning that way, right?
Yeah.
The other part of that text thread that makes no sense is he's like, I had an opportunity and I took it, and here's what I did, and here's why I did it, and remember me writing on the bullets, and remember here's where I hid the rifle, and like just explaining everything out. And
that was another thing too. The writing on the bullets, I thought was a little overkill.
Yeah. Also, the fact that the more's coming out about him, he was apparently an extremely smart kid. He went to Utah State University, I believe, not UVU, on an academic scholarship and dropped out after one semester. Yeah. He also, his family is conservative, and his dad and younger brothers liked to hunt. He never did. He was never really into that. He's not somebody who really was into the hunting type thing, and had taken a lot of time shooting and that kind of thing. Yeah. The other thing is that I saw today too that I did not know. You'd seen the video shot of him at Dairy Queen just looking like, what's going on? You know, right?
Yeah, he shouldn't look like somebody that knows he's trying to get away from him.
He's not looking like he's in a manhunt right now. He doesn't look like the target of a manhunt. Doesn't look like that. That Dairy Queen is gone. It's all shut down. What? Everything in it's emptied out. It's all gone.
Oh, my God.
They also have done construction over the entire site of where Charlie Kirk was shot. They've removed a bunch of stuff. They've put a bunch of stuff in. They've re-cemented over. They've removed a bunch of planter boxes. They've done all kinds of stuff in that location.
Gosh, it's so fishy, man.
It's a crime scene. Why are we doing that? They didn't even tape it off in the very beginning. People run all around it. There's no authorities in there. There's nobody like trying to preserve the crime scene. It's just there's so much around it. It's so weird.
And back to the microphone thing. They said that his guard pulled something on his sleeve right as that thing went off.
It does coincide with the shot.
It's kind of crazy. But that could have been doctored too. Who knows? But then you see that guy run and jump over the table, and he hands the mic, pulls it off his lapel, right, and hands it to another guy.
We can't see him pull it off the lapel, but we do see the guy in the light-colored shirt grab something from what would look like Charlie Kirk's body, but it's below the table in the shot. You can't quite see it, and put it in his back pocket. And then the guy in the brown shirt, who looks like he pulls something in his sleeve that coincides with the shot, gets there, hands the guy in the light-colored shirt something, who puts that also in his pocket. And when he puts the second thing in his pocket, he runs off.
Yeah.
Like Charlie Kirk's not his main concern at that moment.
Yeah, and then what he's supposed to be there for?
It's just there's so much around it that makes zero sense.
Yeah. Man, it just makes you really distrust government.
Oh, that's
in any way, shape, or form.
I already definitely do really distrust government. Speaking of distrusting government, have you seen Tucker Carlson's first couple of episodes of his 9/11 series?
I have not.
Dude, one came out last week, one came out this week, and he's going to do it's like a 7 or 8 part series or something like that. But none of that stuff has ever made sense. And I don't really want to go down the trail on 9/11. I'll just tell people.
Like as an inside job?
Oh, just that the official narrative, again, doesn't make sense.
Right, right.
But really quick, I want to take a pause and a little bit of a detour on the idea of conspiracy theory. Do you know where that word comes from?
I do not.
The word was established by the CIA around the JFK shooting to discredit anybody who was going away from the mainstream and official narrative. So it's a slur. It's
always been a derogatory term.
It's a derogatory term. And I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who was really just trying to give me the business about being a conspiracy theorist, and he was taking this really nefarious is not the right word. He was arguing in such a way that it was trying to box me into being a conspiracy theorist, using it derogatorily by implying that any of these theories that I ever hear, I just believe. And it's like, that's just not how I operate at all.
I mean, you're the biggest fact-checking guy that I know.
I dig, man. But here's what I do is I put things in categories. They're plausible. Is it possible that this could have happened? And the only thing that I'm certain of in the Charlie Kirk thing is that it wasn't Tyler Robinson from the Lossy Center up there. That is the only thing that is like, no way, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's Lee Harvey Oswald 2.0.
Absolutely looking like a patsy big time. The other thing that I found out about him is that his parents did not believe that he had done it. They turned him in for they talked him into turning himself in because they didn't want their home to be raided at gunpoint, basically, and they were thinking he was just going to be exonerated really quickly. So I like to listen to people who have theories. It doesn't mean that I believe them, but I just like people who explore ideas, and I've definitely been listening to Candace Owens since this all went down.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize when it all went down, and didn't remember at the time, that she had been originally on the Turning Point team with Charlie Kirk, and that they were great friends. But both her and Ian Carroll have done excellent work since then, trying to figure out fact from fiction and what's possible and what's not.
Right.
Ian Carroll, people sometimes criticize him because he likes to blame everything on the Jews. I'm definitely not in that camp. I definitely don't default to it's the Jews. It's definitely.
But he always does say, there's no proof of this.
Yeah.
I'm just putting this out here.
Well, he went and drove to Utah Valley State and walked around there and showed video of stuff and was looking at all kinds of things and comparing video and one that I saw today.
Yeah.
It's really strange. There was one piece of video where this YouTube channel is interviewing people from behind and to the left, way down above Charlie Kirk. There's a big walkway, and it's way behind and way far to the left, probably 80 yards to the left away from Charlie Kirk. They're interviewing people while Charlie's speaking and when the shot takes place. And the video starts panning around once the shot goes off, and you can see the top of that building that's over to the right of Charlie Kirk.
Looks like maybe a head sticking up.
It really does look like maybe a head sticking up. And it's weird because you can't see it in other videos that have the same angle. But now, when Ian Carroll went there, there's like a pipe that's up there that you can see from all of the angles. So it doesn't look like it was there originally. It looks like it's...
The pipe wasn't?
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't see it in the original videos, but you can see it when he was there the other day.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And so...
have you heard any eyewitness accounts? Because, I'm wondering if they saw what we've been shown.
I have not heard any eyewitness accounts. I know that there was a lot of people... There were some issues with people getting shut down right away who were trying to give eyewitness interviews on the day of.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, there was a lot of people shutting down interviews, let's just say it that way. Walking into interviews, taking people out of it, like walking them away, and it was weird stuff like that. But, the reason I'm talking about all this again is because it highlights the division in our country, which I believe Charlie Kirk was trying to break down by having these discussions.
Yeah.
He was certainly trying to win people to his side, but I don't think that is mutually exclusive from the idea of trying to break down barriers by talking through things, trying to find where the actual disagreement is and trying to find where the agreement is.
Yeah. I saw somebody said that, I can't quote them, unfortunately, but they said a Nazi wouldn't say, "Prove me wrong," and hand you a microphone.
Definitely not. That's definitely not something a fascist would do. Fascists totally shut down any forms of opposition back in Nazi Germany and in fascist Italy under Mussolini. Again, we've mentioned this before, but the real fascists that are hanging out in our country call themselves anti-fascist.
Yeah.
They use violence against anybody who they even view as opposing them. They attack journalists. It's just really bad. I'm kind of glad that Trump has labeled Antifa as a terrorist organization because they just weren't being taken seriously. And I really do hope he puts troops in Portland. They've been rioting almost every night since 2020.
Every night?
Almost every night in Portland.
Years? My God.
They've been, Antifa, that's the one city in this country where they are called Rose City Antifa. And they're the most organized, most active, most violent. And then during the George Floyd riots, there was even people executed in the streets of Portland.
Wow.
Around that whole Chaz Chop thing,
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. There's
people
no...
were just running up to old ladies and beating them within an inch of their lives.
Yeah, Andy No got beaten twice by them, badly. And there's some other reporters out there now who've been attacked recently by them up in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
But I just again want to roll us back to the division that our country seemingly has. I don't think we're that different. I think people are much more in agreement on a lot of the issues than the media or social media would have you believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we're getting ready to head towards a big period of change. I mean, I think we're right in a big period of change. You know, the biggest period of change that we've had since the Civil War was the 70s, the 60s and 70s. But the 70s were way more violent even than the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, 60s were kind of free love and hippie stuff, and the 70s devolved into terrorist bombings, a lot of hijacking of airplanes, and all kinds of stuff based on politics. The Weather Underground, bombings, other stuff,
and kind of violence against the counterculture to a certain extent too.
Definitely,
people got just fed up with it.
You know, a lot of people don't know about the MOVE organization in Philadelphia. I mean, that was a black liberation organization that ended up getting bombed out, and the Philadelphia police dropped C4 onto their building. I mean, they were really just a separatist, kind of a communist, leave us alone, we'll leave you alone type of people. They ended up arming themselves at the last minute, but I mean, it was really a bad deal. You can research that stuff. The MOVE organization in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Really rough stuff. But what I'm leading up to is that we're kind of in that place now where political violence is becoming a reality.
Right, and that's kind of why I brought that up, is that you see people on, the alt-right at the moment saying, oh, well, you shot the only one that would give you a chance to speak. It's like, okay.
That's what I mean about pushing people
go that far.
Pushing people who are moderates and not racist towards those people that are on the extremes.
Right.
You know, it ain't
because they now feel threatened.
It isn't going to be me who gets pushed towards those extremes. I'll never resort to violence. I'll always try to talk through these things with people, no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
People need to understand the miracle that we live in Western society, where people are allowed to talk about these things publicly. I mean, just not how the world works typically in other places, historically or today. Most of the time, if you're making a lot of noise politically, you're a target for assassination and a target to get killed in other countries.
Mm-hmm. In most of the bigger countries around the world, for sure.
There's two other factors I want to bring up toward the division. One that we've kind of briefly nudged on here is social media. I think that social media changed the game big time. Right around 2011, 2012 was when social media was really picking up and everybody was starting to have a smartphone in their hand. Videos began to go viral almost immediately of public acts of violence. And one of the first was, Michael Brown in St. Louis. And it doesn't matter the facts of that case, the fact that he attacked the police officer. It just goes down as a police officer shooting an unarmed black man.
Yeah, and everyone thought they had the facts, and they did not. And they were upset about what they, thought happened.
Yeah. President Obama weighing in on the Trayvon Martin case and making it more about race than it needed to be. It was a tragedy. Yep. That whole thing, that Trayvon Martin case was an absolute tragedy. You had a guy who had no business thinking he was being like a community police enforcer when, he wasn't that at all. He was taking the law into his own hands, and
right.
It's just tragic. And it's not to say that there weren't mistakes made on Trayvon Martin's case either, but it's not the racial barometer we should be using. Those are incidents that are isolated.
Right, and it became a black and white thing when, remind me of the guy's name that shot him.
It was George Zimmerman.
Zimmerman, thank you. But he was Hispanic Jew, right?
I don't know if he was a Jew, but he was definitely Hispanic.
Yeah.
But it's just you're talking
about...
It
was black and white. I don't know why or how, but...
You're just talking about an individual who was taking things into his own hands, who had no right to. He had no legal standing to. Right. He had no training. He was way out of line. He was making assumptions about a person because of the way that they looked and the way that they dressed. But that doesn't have any bearing on the racial reality of what's going on in our nation. I just think we were so far ahead of this before social media started making everything that happened that was messed up out there be widely televised.
I agree completely. Now you don't have, people that don't care to look, they don't have the time to see what actually happened. They just let their emotions think for them, and they have an outlet to just say whatever that comes to their head right then and there. And that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this previously, but the work of Roland Fryer, if anybody takes a look and looks into his name, if you Google Roland Fryer, you'll see him interviewed all around. I just watched another of his videos the other day. He's a black man who grew up in the slums in Florida. He says all of his relatives were crack dealers. His grandma was the only one that in his life who kept him on the straight and narrow, but he knew he didn't want a part of that life. Ended up going to Harvard and becoming a super well-respected researcher. And when he did an investigation on police violence, he found that on low levels, like pushing people up against cars or being rough with people initially, there was some bias from police officers towards black people. But when you got to actual extreme violence, like shooting, death of unarmed people, and that kind of thing, it actually didn't show that at all. It showed that there was more violence towards white people.
Yeah.
And he was told by his contemporaries in Harvard not to publish that because it was going to be a problem for his career. He was going to ruin his career if he did that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he did before he published it was he fired all his research agents or assistants, hired new ones, and redid the work, and they found the exact same thing.
So let me ask you, was it a numbers game? Because there are so many more white people than there are black people.
It was by percentage that he did the work.
Okay.
So, I mean, he measured it a ton of different ways.
Okay.
And when he talks about it, he talks about just not being capable of lying and not being capable of covering up the truth. And that's the most respectable thing that I think I can imagine from somebody who's trying to be a public figure and doing public research.
For sure. Especially when it goes against the narrative that you're supposed to have been taught.
Yeah. Not to backtrack too far, but just talking with people again about controversial topics, somebody was showing me some research papers that don't necessarily align with how I view things on a certain topic. And I said, I'll take a look. I'll read these. And their reaction was, well, what good is reading them going to do? You just should take what they say on at surface value. And I'm like, okay, well, he's like, well, you know better than doctors? And I'm like, well, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. But like any document that I'm not just going to take any document that has a title and just take the title and assume what's going on by the title. I'm going to read what's actually going on. I'm going to try and evaluate the facts as best as I can. If it's scientific, there's certainly going to be things that I can't necessarily understand, but I can certainly figure it out, and I can ask questions of people that know better than me and say, what does this mean? And I have lots of people I can reference when it comes to that. And so I just don't think it's wise for anybody to take a news article, a study, any statistical analysis, and just grab the headline and run with it.
No, never. And we talked about that before, that study that was those guys presented to the about the dogs and the homosexuals.
Oh yeah. The hoax papers.
Yeah. And I mean, there are studies out there like that, and you can't just take what they say as fact.
Yeah, well, they did that on purpose. They
right.
wrote those papers.
What I'm saying. They were exposing that, right? That
they wrote those.
Their point.
They wrote those papers with false premises. They started with their conclusions and worked backward on the false research to make the point that the academy is all jacked up, and if it aligns with the academy's politics, it'll get published, and if it doesn't, it'll get panned.
And it's not only political. You know, a lot of this research is funded by people with certain interests in mind, and they're basically told, we need this to come out of this, so make it happen.
Right. A lot of that around COVID, a lot of that around the stuff with hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, studies that were designed to fail. I read a bunch of those. It was just clear as day that they were designed to fail from the beginning. The one on hydroxychloroquine, I believe, was the recovery trial, but don't quote me on that. If you guys out there, go look it up. But you can even see right from the dosing on the hydroxychloroquine that it was a toxic level dose, because they were catching people right at the end when they were about to die, when no other intervention had worked. And that's not the way you test things.
Right.
You know, ivermectin as a safety protocol that's safer than Tylenol, if we want to get to that.
I think I might start taking it.
I mean,
definitely going to get the methylene blue.
Yeah, it's been good to me, man. I like taking that. But ivermectin is a wonder drug, man. It has almost zero side effects. It has massive antiparasitic properties and then some antiviral properties as well.
Well, yeah. My mom, breast cancer survivor, she said that when she would have her chemo, she would take that and it would make her feel 10 times better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to just say that I believe in this thing without some kind of proof. And I mean, that's about the most proof that I could ever need.
Yeah. So social media was the first thing that I wanted to bring up that really increased the division in our country. The next thing is our buddy Donald Trump. I mean, when he started out, do you remember in like 2015 when people would just openly laugh about him being a possibility for the Republican nomination?
I was watching The Simpsons today, and it was like a time travel episode. It had Bart come back as like a teenager, and they're like, well, what's going to happen in the future? And he's like, well, Donald Trump's going to be president. And they're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. They all just start laughing.
Yeah. I mean, if you think back to, 15, 20 years ago, it seems laughable.
Yeah. And that was like, I don't know when The Apprentice was, but it was, I remember a lot of people saying, oh, we're going to have a reality show runner as a president. That's ludicrous.
We are.
Everyone around the world saying this. And yeah, it was. If you think about
I don't want to dwell on him necessarily, but I would like to spend a few minutes talking about his effect that he's had on our politics.
For sure.
I mean,
and on our government.
He is a cult of personality that is far different from the traditional Republican Party. And I just don't see how the Republican Party recovers when he's gone. Because until he dies, he's going to be a little bit of a kingmaker.
Sure.
If anybody who's a Republican candidate of any office of any high stature has something to say that he doesn't like, he's going to be able to kill it.
Yeah, and they probably would want to have his backing just to get the votes. Surely.
I mean, if you look at this historical Republican Party, they've been like free trade advocates. They did NAFTA. They were originally the ones that did NAFTA. Really liberal on trade. They would speak about fiscal conservatism, even though it was only talk. They always spend more money, but they at least gave lip service to it. They were really corporate friendly economically. They favored deregulation and tax cuts for big businesses. But MAGA's just not like that at all. Free trade is out the window. It's protectionism and tariffs. They spend. Well, Donald Trump spends all over for populist things like infrastructure, things that are appealing to working class folks.
Which we do need at the moment, the infrastructure at least.
We do need spending on infrastructure, but we need our overall budget to go down. We spend way, way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a bunch of anti-corporate rhetoric in the MAGA circles as well that are just, it's kind of confusing because, I mean, on one hand, Trump is really supportive of certain companies if they support him, but he also has some real anti-establishment tendencies, and at least MAGA itself, even more than Trump, has some anti-establishment tendencies. And the differences are not only economic. When you look at foreign policy, they're very, very different too. I mean, Bretton Woods is the system that we've had since World War II that allowed America to be the global hegemon. I mean, since World War II, there was, for a while, we had the Cold War, and Russia was our adversary, and NATO was set up to go against them. And we were really very, very international focused. Historically, the Republicans were. They really were interventionists to go out and fight wars like Vietnam and Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, still going on in Somalia, Yemen, bombed Iran, Iraq twice.
Yeah.
I mean, over and over and over again, you see that's what the traditional Republicans want to do.
The military machine.
Yeah, it's just when Trump was running, he was running against that originally. I mean, he really was talking about not being an interventionist, and at least that was the sentiment with his base. It's not how it's turned out.
No, not at all. He's dipping his toes in all the waters.
Yeah. He bombed Iran when Israel wanted him to. He bombed a bunch in Yemen. He's openly now talking about retaking Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, I mean, what in the world? Why would you want to do that? I mean, it's being presented as a hedge against China and being able to bomb China. We don't need that. Even if we really did want to go to war with China, we've got bases in Korea and Japan and the Philippines and Guam and all these different places that are well within reach.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It just doesn't make any sense. And after handing everything over to the Taliban and Bagram being looted, it would just be millions, if not billions, of dollars to try to reestablish Bagram as a base. Now, when we did leave Afghanistan, I felt like we should have held on to it a little longer and slowly withdrew back to Bagram because it's so isolated.
Well, yeah, I mean, talk about debacle, how we pulled out. I'm going to get into that, but
it was pretty bad. So just in name only, I mean, in theory, MAGA is supposed to be non-interventionist. And again, that's not really how it's turned out. They got the recent peace proposal that I guess they're waiting on Hamas to respond to that. But I just don't think that even if Hamas accepts it, that Israel's going to be a solid player for that.
No, I mean, they just keep killing people. I don't think they have any intention of peace on either side, honestly.
Yeah, and then another area where they're very, very different, historical Republicans and MAGA, is social issues. I mean, historically, Republicans have been moral conservatives tied to the religious right. They even had some almost anti-free speech or censorship type things going on in the 90s, trying to get certain rappers censored. Like that.
Nancy Reagan.
Yeah. Anti-abortion is something they're known for. Opposition to same-sex marriage. Super tough on law and order, but traditional Republicans and traditional Democrats are both want to be law and order. Biden was the author of the 91 crime bill, but that's kind of changed now in Democrats now. The Republicans also would try to unify amongst evangelicals, moderates, and libertarians. And MAGA is taking a completely different tack on most of those issues too. I mean, it's really populist. Battling against woke is their cultural battle all the time, which is kind of anomalous and amorphous and not something you can really take a target at. Yeah,
but I also feel like a lot of people are on that side now. Everybody's fed up with the woke crap.
The pendulum has swung.
Yeah. I don't know how it got so crazy in the first place.
MAGA would purport to support free speech over traditional moralism, but even so, you had Pam Bondi a couple of weeks ago talking about hate speech and saying if you practice hate speech, we're going to come after you.
Yeah, see, that's something that they went against the Democrats for doing.
She had to retract that because everybody blew up. I mean, but you can tell that those authoritarian tendencies are there with certain parts of Trump's people. MAGA is also very skeptical of institutions. Trump's whole drain the swamp thing was one of his main campaign things, and more in 2016 than in the other two elections, but that's really not how it's worked out either.
No, not at all. And that's kind of enrages me a little bit.
You know who Susie Wiles is?
I don't think so.
Susie Wiles is his campaign manager this time around, and she runs his political organization from the White House. She's the chief of staff. And her job before she was his chief of staff was being Netanyahu's campaign manager in 2020 and running his campaigns and his staff. Wow.
Did you see what Ben Shapiro said, by the way?
No. What did he say?
He wants to do away with the law that you have to be an American citizen to be president so that Netanyahu can be president.
He didn't say that.
He did.
Come on.
Although, there's a screenshot. I could have been completely fabricated. I don't know.
I've lost most of my respect for Ben Shapiro, frankly, over about the last year.
Yeah.
He is Israel first, not America first.
He really is.
I just can't even deal with it. It drives me nuts how much he is morally compromised when it comes to that issue. He can't.
How does this narrative become something that some Americans are just pumping? We love Israel. It's just wild to me.
I think it goes back to the old, people, especially the older generation, has some historical context of the Holocaust. And that combined with the dispensational mindset of Israel needing to be recreated as a state in order for Jesus to be able to return, which we definitely don't agree with.
Right, but certain Christian leaders do.
Lots
it would
do.
appear.
Lots do, in fact. It's very strange to me.
Bizarre, really.
Definitely. So that's the big differences, for the most part, between traditional Republicans and MAGA. I think those differences are not able to be reconciled in any easy way. I don't think the public is going to go back towards the John McCain types, the Tom Tillis types. I just don't see it happening.
Mitt Romney.
No,
Yeah.
I just don't see people going for that. I don't see people voting for that. But at the same time, the Democrats are in even more of a crisis. They don't have anything going on as far as popular support or policies that people want to get behind.
Yeah, it looks like they're pumping Gavin Newsom, but I think if it comes down to it, most Democrats are not going to vote for him.
They're not. He's really, really hated in California, even though he's been able to win the governorship over and over again. It's really because it's a one-party state, and he's the candidate they put up.
Yeah, and that's wild because it's all the votes in the big cities that rule states like that, you know.
He's just the most obvious version of your scumbag politician.
Yeah, so obvious.
But, I mean, what do Democrats stand for nowadays?
I couldn't even tell you. I mean, there's so many different types of Democrat, I feel like. And they're not just extremists one way or another. I've learned that as well. A lot of my Democrat friends, when the Charlie Kirk thing went down, a lot of them stood with, you know, just, hey, have a heart. This guy got murdered. What are you guys talking about, you know?
Yeah. From looking at some of their policies and trying to figure out what they actually stand for, they talk about economic equity and cost reduction. These are just amorphous terms that don't mean anything. None of that means you have a plan to get that done, and it's really very difficult to try to get costs to come down. And there's no, I mean, Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is in name only doing that. I don't know that it had any effect really on inflation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things by the Biden administration that's just so ineffectual.
Some of the specific things that they put out there policy-wise that you can put your finger on is expanding the child tax credit, providing home buyer credits, increasing corporate taxes, forgiving student loans, abortion up to whenever people want to do it, of course, which is just crazy. It's a Holocaust in itself, if you ask me. Just they talk about education and essential workers like teachers and nurses, but I mean these are amorphous terms that don't really have any solidified meaning or actionable policy behind them.
Right.
You hear them talk about climate change, which talk about the pendulum swing. I mean, that people are coming to the conclusion now that the whole climate change thing is a big farce.
Yeah.
Wind and solar are interesting, but wind is inefficient and inconsistent, and they take a whole lot of fossil fuels to get established.
Yep.
Solar is cool, but we don't have the battery storage power or the energy transportation to move it from the areas that have tons of sun to the areas that don't. Like, if we could stack up the whole Southwest with solar panels and then be able to supply cities like Chicago and Boston, New York with power from there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But we just don't have those technologies.
I feel like hydro might be the only viable one currently, but
most of the dams most of the areas that are available for hydropower have been tapped. I don't know necessarily about Texas, but I do know about California, and they're going the opposite way in California. They're removing dams that have hydropower.
Wow.
Because the salmon,
removing what works.
they're removing them based on environmental means and saying that it's because of salmon spawning and stuff like that. But
this is so stupid.
Everywhere that I've seen a hydro project, they put in fish hatcheries and fish ladders and all this kind of stuff to make sure that population continues. Mm-hmm. So it just doesn't add up. I mean, I don't understand why they would take that stuff out when it's natural, nice, clean energy that way.
Yeah, they're talking a big game, but not really doing anything.
one of the things they talk about too that is again fairly amorphous is social justice and civil rights. I mean, I think these are overblown things that cause divides, and they're trying to capitalize on this idea that conservatives are racist, and that's just another piece of division. I mean, people are not racist. I mean, in your life, when's the last time you heard somebody, as a white person yourself, and so am I, when's the last time you heard somebody say something that was blatantly racist?
Probably in high school, maybe in college. So 20 years.
At least.
20 plus.
It's been a very long time since I've heard somebody say anything blatantly racist. I've heard some things that are on the edge, and whenever I've heard those things, I just look at those people and I go, hey, knock it off. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think there is such a social penalty for being racist now that it just does not exist on any kind of level that is meaningful. I'm sure there are people who have racist feelings out there.
Oh, yeah.
But they certainly don't show it publicly, because the amount of public scrutiny you're going to get, the amount of blacklisting,
ruin your life.
It will ruin your life. There were people around. There were multiple people of business back in the 2020 George Floyd stuff who said racist things to people out of their business vehicles, and their businesses were basically shut down because of people protesting and going after them publicly, as they should.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a blatant racist, go ahead.
If you're going to speak hate, and I don't really care what happens to you, honestly.
I don't want the government involved in that.
No, that's true.
But let the public...
who decides what's hate speech, right?
That's right. But if the public outcry is such that it shuts down your business, great. Mm-hmm. Fine with me. I certainly don't want the government involved in that.
It's just like the people that lost their jobs for celebrating Charlie's death.
I guess.
Sorry. You got to know your audience. You got to know that you're representing your company that you work for.
Yeah.
They might not have the same views as you.
Celebrating death is disgusting.
I agree.
I think that Gavin Newsom is a disgusting piece of crap. But if somebody assassinated him, there's no way in the world I'd celebrate it. I would actually be very sad that we had gone to that point.
Yeah.
It would not be something I celebrate at all. I would feel bad for his family and his kids. And
I feel like there's a line that's a line that gets crossed, and I'm going to be on one side, they're going to be on the other side.
If you celebrate murder, you're evil.
I agree.
Bottom line. The other area of difference between Democrats and the MAGA crowd and Republicans is immigration, of course.
Sure.
Trump's gone pretty crazy with the deportations, but we've had a bunch of people self-deport. I think it was up to 1.6 million self-deports.
Wow.
The last time I looked.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's been a lot. I'm not for masked ICE agents jumping out of unmarked vehicles and grabbing people. I don't think that's good.
No, I agree. I mean, how do we go from just completely open borders to get them all out at once?
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like either one.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Like we've kind of talked about before, we have plenty of people in our community that we know and love dearly who are not fully in legal status, and they work hard and they pay taxes, and they're members of the community, and we value that. I'm fully for a form of guest worker program that is easy for people that are from Mexico. Those are our neighbors. Now, people from farther away, I'm a little bit more tough on. But if you're from Mexico, which is our neighbor on our border, if you're in good standing with your government, you should be able to fill out a simple form, say, here's where I'm going to go to work, and you should be able to come into the country. And as long as you abide by the laws that surround that, you should be able to come in and do your work and go home.
And if you pay taxes and work toward getting citizenship or whatever, I mean, I'm all for that. How does that work, by the way, if you're illegal and you still pay taxes?
Well, there's a bunch of ways that works. Some above board and some not. And a lot of the people that are not above board, they'll still take your taxes if you send them in.
Yeah, I figured that, but I figured there was at least some kind of program for that.
Well, there's various programs. I mean, Obama's DACA program is one. That was like people that have been here for a certain amount of time are able to stay. Mm-hmm. But again, I think it would be fairly easy to work out something sensible, and neither side is really willing to, because they use it as a wedge issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, after saying all that, my whole point in bringing all that up is that I think that we're in for major change. I don't think that the Republican Party can exist as it is past Donald Trump. They will make it to 2028. But beyond, I don't think that they will.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on what happens in the next couple of years, next 3 years, they may not make it past 2028.
Sure.
And the Democratic Party, if they go ahead and run Newsom, they will lose.
Yeah, they need a drastic change.
But who else is there? They're floating AOC?
Oh, gosh. I think she has less of a chance than Newsom. I think Michelle Obama might have the best chance.
I just don't even see her as a political actor.
Yeah, that's a good point. But she doesn't have any political flaws either, right?
I guess, but I just don't understand the traction, frankly.
Sure.
I've never seen her speak out publicly on political issues with any kind of skill.
Could probably be better than Kamala Harris, but...
Well, that's not such a high bar, sir.
That's what I'm saying, though. They ran her. Didn't even have an election.
Yeah, man, can you believe that? That's another thing I don't think many people who are Democrats think about on the surface or somehow move past, is that they haven't had any kind of an open primary for the presidential election since Obama.
Yeah, that's
so after Obama,
kind of telling.
After Obama, you had the 2016 election ended up being Hillary against Trump. Well, they stole it from Bernie because it was gonna be Bernie.
Right.
Okay, so
it was supposed to be Bernie. Now, how does that even happen? That's not legal, right?
No, they just straight stole it using superdelegates.
Yeah, these Clintons.
Absolutely.
We still haven't done our Clinton deep dive.
No, we haven't. That needs to happen. But then in 2020, you had all these Democratic candidates, and then all of a sudden there was no real clear person pulling away, but it was just kind of Biden was anointed, and everyone else stepped aside. It was the Democratic establishment who put in Joe Biden, not the voters.
Right.
Which is so strange.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you not see who has actual popular support?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another vice president that was kind of just given the reins. I'm having trouble.
Reagan had George H.W., but he was, he'd been in government forever. I'm too young to know the circumstances around that, but I'm sure it was a popular election. He had Dan Quayle, who had no chance, plus he didn't even serve 2 terms.
Yeah. Cheney.
Clinton had Gore, who was pushed in there right after him. Cheney was never going to fly. Nobody liked Cheney. He was seen as like Emperor Palpatine or something, evil dude. And then
all his ties to Enron and all that, right?
And then
interesting times.
Of course, Pence was never going to go because of his falling out with Trump. Then Kamala Harris, she again was anointed. There was no process.
Yeah.
It's just strange, man. That's since, when did Obama come in? 2008?
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years since you've had a Democrat have a primary for president that it was real. And they're screaming about our democracy all the time.
Yeah. It's
so
like yours
weird.
Was taken away from you for 20 years.
And let's not let people think that we're Republicans here. We're certainly not. We're certainly more conservative, but it just the irony of screaming about our democracy when that's how your party's been functioning is just stark to me.
Well, and we didn't really talk about Jimmy Kimmel, but the hypocrisy of saying that he was fired for freedom of speech, or he was taken off the air, and that took away his freedom of speech, and then looking at Donald Trump being taken off of Twitter and not seeing the correlation of that, and saying one is different than the other, I just think that's ludicrous.
Well, I'm not a fan of censorship of any kind. Those are very different circumstances.
Neither am I.
the social media companies were colluding clearly with the Democratic Party to take everybody off of social media who they didn't agree with, or they could paint as extremist. The canary in the coal mine, of course, was Alex Jones back in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
He's taken off of everything.
And then the same thing happened with Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, not exactly. With Jimmy Kimmel, it was pressure from the Trump regime to hit the FCC commissioner, who literally told, was it ABC? I don't know.
Yes, I think.
He literally told them that we can do this the easy way or the hard way. That's
right, but I mean, it's basically the same thing.
It's just some gangster crap, though. I mean, and I guess it is somewhat similar. It was colluding behind the scenes with the Democrats, and it was out in front with the Republicans.
Collusion, yeah. Either way.
And I'm not in favor of anybody being taken off the air by any government force at all. But with that being said, late night TV's dead. Nobody watches that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if it was a different deal with Colbert. I mean, they were up in arms when he got let go. I don't even know what reason was given for that, but
it's just there are no ratings.
Yeah, that's not funny. What I thought at the time, for sure, but I don't know if there was any hidden meaning behind that.
There's no ratings, and it's not funny. It's not even entertaining. It's just, Jon Stewart's the only one that kind of can hold my attention of any of those types of guys. So you got a bunch of different guys who are in that vein. You have Kimmel, you had Colbert, you have Seth Meyers, you have John Oliver, and I believe that there's one more, but all of them are in the same vein. And so when you're talking about late night TV shows, you have one political persuasion doing all of the talking about one political set of ideals. And then when Jimmy Kimmel comes back on the air, he's talking about it's just so great that we live in a nation where this kind of speech is allowed. And it's just kind of disingenuous to me, because that's the only kind of speech that's on late night TV at all. People would say, however, that on the right, that the podcast space is dominated by the right. And so it just, they find their lanes where they're going to be successful. So late night TV was certainly a Democratic lane. There's no conservatives on late night TV. And then in podcasts, there's almost exclusively, all the big shows anyway are fairly conservative,
Yeah, and I feel like most of the comedic political shows are left-leaning for sure, which is interesting.
Well, all the late night ones are. I don't know if there's any late night show that is conservative in any way. But I mean,
no, nothing jokingly even,
I've never looked up their numbers and their ratings, but they can't be good.
No.
They can't be good at all.
Did you ever watch The Daily Show before it was Jon Stewart's thing?
No, who was it before him?
It's oh gosh, can I not remember this now? Craig. Man, my brother's gonna laugh at me because we used to watch it all the time. It was so funny, and it was just kind of political, but not really. Like Steve Carell was one of the reporters on it. And a bunch of other people that became really funny. Stephen Colbert.
I mean, it's a funny premise.
But it was all in jest. And then they became this thing where it was just, we're going to force our politics down your throat.
Right. Look, make fun of all those politicians. Make fun of all of them. Crush all of them.
Craig Kilborn, sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
It was great. You should look up some old episodes.
Yeah, I would never really was a late night TV guy. I mean, way back, I think my mom used to like Letterman a little bit. But I mean, I just wasn't into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wasn't really either. I loved Conan, but that's about it.
Yeah, I never watched him either, really. I mean, I just wasn't. It wasn't.
I got like 3 channels in my TV in my room when I was a kid. So like when I was supposed to go to bed, I'd stay up and watch that. It was the only thing on,
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I didn't have a TV in my room way back then.
But Conan was never political.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, late night TV is kind of just gone, man. To me, it had never held much value, and the whole Kimmel thing was such a non-story to me.
Sure. Well, and it's so funny to me that he's the champion of the left, because he was on the Man Show saying very derogative, terrible things to women, wearing blackface, just against everything that he preaches now.
Well, to me, Adam Carolla carried that show.
Yeah,
It wasn't Kimmel.
for sure.
Carolla's hilarious.
Yeah. And Carolla is now far right. I mean, not far right.
No, he's a right-wing podcaster.
Yeah, but he's not like extremist right, you know?
No, but according to the left, anybody who's on the right is far right, you know.
Well, exactly.
Anybody who's not part of the mainstream establishment, far right.
Yeah.
But where does this leave us, Mike? I mean, where do we go from here? What's coming?
Wish I knew. Seems troubling.
It could be. I mean, Trump's floating war with Venezuela. We are not in less global conflict than when he came into office. He's kind of got us in more global conflict at the moment.
I just saw on my maps on my phone, Gulf of America.
Yeah.
Because we went to the beach this past weekend.
It's so silly.
It's just the most ridiculous thing.
I don't care.
Why would you waste time and energy on that?
Yeah, I don't care. Either way, I think it's stupid that you decided you wanted to change the name and you made that a priority. It's just awful.
It's narcissism. It's flexing. It's bullying.
No time for it.
Stupid.
Yeah, I have no time for it. I've seen plenty of MAGA people. Isn't that great? No,
it's not.
It's absolutely not.
It's been the Gulf of Mexico for how long? For how many years?
Right. It's the entire coast of Mexico that is on the border of that. And it just doesn't. It's very, again, narcissistic is probably the best way to put that, even though I feel like that word is very overused in our society today.
Sure. But if there is a political narcissist, it's our boy Donald Trump. Maybe not political, but just a narcissist in general.
Public narcissist, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to be political, but definitely in the public vein. One of the funniest things I've seen in a long time was a clip that Rogan showed of somebody putting up, it was 24 things that nobody does better than Donald Trump, and it was just Trump saying, "Nobody knows this topic like me. I'm the best on this topic. I'm the only one that knows how to accomplish this." It was just
so
cracked
cringe.
me up, man.
That's great. I saw a thing the other day. It was from the 90s, but some guy it was on, I think it was on Larry King. He and Donald Trump and this other guy who was, I think, a writer. I can't remember his name, but he got in an argument with Trump about something. He said, "Oh, so you're so well read, Donald?" And he said, Yes, I read a lot. I read everything." He said, "Oh, everything? What's the last book you read?" And he goes, "Oh, Tom Wolfe's last book." And he goes, "Oh, so you've read The Bonfire of the Vanities?" He's like, "No, not that one. It was a different one." And he's like, "Well, that was his last book. So which one did you read?" And he just kept saying all this crap that made no sense, and it's just bizarre.
He's just a performer.
Yeah. But I mean, narcissist is probably the best word.
Yeah, but again, where are we headed? I mean, my hope is that people are finally starting to see that government, the best way to classify government, no matter what party, is it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, and that's not what our government should be, right?
No, actually, that's what our founders were all about, is that we want to have the least amount of government as possible, and we want to keep them in their lane. And that's just not where we are today. The federal government has gotten more and more powerful over time. I mean, it's...
Well, I think the thing that bothers me the most or worries me the most is that whoever's in office just does everything they can to keep the other side down, to keep their foot on the throat of the other side. And that's scary. Either way, it's scary.
There used to be a thing that partisan politics ended at our shores.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as soon as you hit our shores, partisanship was over, and we were all on the same team at that point. It's just not that way anymore.
Yeah, I don't know when that flipped so heavily. But I mean, back, when we were younger people, an old person now, I guess. But bills were passed that made sense to both sides, just because that was what was right and what was.
Well, I have a lot of pet peeves when it comes to politics, but one of them is the omnibus bills.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have got to get rid of those. We have got to start passing single-issue bills again.
100%.
Would allow us to see what our public officials are voting for, instead of just these monstrosities that, well, I had to have these 4 things, so that means I have to vote for these 3 other things that I would have voted against. It's just terrible.
They're holding you at gunpoint. And our local city council has been doing that for a while. So there's, the junior high is falling down, basically. It hasn't been fixed since I was there 20 plus years ago. And they keep lumping the bill to give more money to the school in with all this other crap that nobody wants. And it's crazy to me. I don't know how it's going to change unless we get those people out of office, or if they, figure out a way to just have a one-issue bill. But it seems like it's a bargaining chip, It's something that they can just get away with, and that's not right.
Anytime you lump those things together, all those types of things together with things that people overwhelmingly want, like getting our junior high fixed, it's nefarious to me, because you're
absolutely
trying to slide things in that nobody wants, that are your personal interest, or your constituency, your very narrow constituency's personal interest. It's just not where we need to be.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of Thomas Massey, again, my favorite congressperson, talking about, this was like 9 years ago, talking about some omnibus bill, and he was like, we're going to do the same thing we always do. We're going to debate, and then we're going to pass this thing, and we're going to get right up to the deadline, then we'll pass an extension, and then when we get back to the next year, we're going to pass another gigantic omnibus bill when we should have passed 12 separate bills. You can separate these things out and still include things together that have to be, and negotiate those bills out. It allows you to get down to the actual things that are being implemented rather than these gigantic things that nobody can read. It reminds me of, I don't know, it was 2012 or 14 or so, when Nancy Pelosi says, we have to pass the bill so we can see what is in it.
Yeah. Let's just pass it and then we'll read it.
It's just a terrible way to do business.
Well, these people are terrible people, man. And I don't know how many times we have to expose that for people to listen.
How do we fix the incentive for terrible people to be the ones that are in office?
And we've talked about this before, but I feel like you have to be a certain type of person to be in that position. And it's not a good person. You have to kiss enough butts and do enough terrible things to get yourself to that point. And that means the system is flawed.
Well, the system's definitely flawed. I don't want to end on being pessimistic, though. I mean, we have got to suggest ways to fix things. I think we landed on one, going back to single issue bills.
Absolutely.
Term limits, I think, are another.
Definitely.
But I think that elevating, well, before we get to something tougher to talk about, the easy one again is not allowing sitting members of Congress to trade individual stocks on any level.
I mean, that's just so blatantly obvious.
They make so much money because they have insider trading information. And we would, anybody in the corporate world who was doing insider trading, we'd throw them in the lockup. Well, maybe not, but
they threw Martha Stewart in.
Yeah. Well, people who become targets will go in, but managed hedge funds, not so much. It's that two-tiered layer of justice, the two or three-tiered system of justice, I think, is one of the things that has most people hating politicians. Because, for normal people, if you run afoul of the law, you're never getting away. You're never getting away. For people that are on the lower levels of society, if, let's just say you're a person who struggles with occasional drug and alcohol issues, but you're trying your best and you're trying to work your job and doing the best that you can. If you get a DUI and then you run up a few tickets and then you have a few things going on, those fines are just going to double and double and double until you end up in jail because you can't pay it. It's that type of system on the lower end for people who are on the struggling side of things. It's just a trap. Once you're in the system, you can never get out. And for people that have a lot more money, they can hire the best lawyers, they can get out of things, and it never affects them at all, even for that bit of money that they would have had to spend. And then when you're talking about politicians, there's just been no politician in my memory that's been rung up on charges of corruption in my living memory. I don't know if you can think of any.
No, even though their corruption's been exposed multiple times. I mean, it's bizarre.
Was it Sandy Berger who stuffed classified documents down his pants during the Clinton administration and walked out of wherever it was that he had the documents or something like that? There's stuff like that goes on all the time. I mean, people who are I know we jail foreign intelligence agents who are unregistered in the country, but I mean nobody internally. None of our politicians that are taking money. I mean Eric Swalwell is still a sitting member of Congress, and he was dating a spy, a Chinese spy. I mean it's just unbelievable that we have no accountability at that level. Again, I just said I didn't want to be negative, but here we go again.
Well, it kind of ties back into the Epstein thing, and people saying, "Oh, well, our government couldn't survive if the Epstein list came out." Sorry, they probably shouldn't survive.
They shouldn't. Another thing that's really related to what you just said that has been on my mind a lot lately is in discussions with people who are related to government or tied to government or retired from government. Several different people recently, I've said when information like these things needs to come out, the sentiment they've expressed is, oh, well, if the general public knew, then everything would come apart. I'm like, good.
Yeah, we got to stir something up, man.
It's got to come apart. The levels of corruption and disgustingness that go on, just that mystifies me that people have their heads so buried in the sand.
Well, and we're in an age where the answers are right there at our fingertips.
They are. It's just how much digging do you want to do? And most people don't want to do any.
Or they turn a blind eye because it doesn't suit their narrative.
Speaking of which, I've been going through that book that I mentioned on our Epstein podcast, the Whitney Webb book of One Nation Under Blackmail, and I kind of knew how tied in that our intelligence agencies were from their inception with organized crime, but the more and more I learn about it, the more and more shocking it is to me, and I don't think that has ever really changed. I think that the practices that our intelligence agencies use are definitely nefarious, and they'll do anything they can do to establish their goals and see their goals achieved.
But now it's a little easier for people to find out about it, I guess is my point.
Yep.
And that's a good thing, but people have to listen for it to be a good thing.
Well, if this was 1963, as like with JFK, Tyler Robinson would be down. He'd be the patsy. He'd be the one going to jail. But as it sits, I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what their stance is or why it's that way. I mean, they're trying to just push this narrative that makes no sense. And I'm trying to struggle to see how they want it to make sense or why they want it to make sense.
Well, a lot of lefties or liberals or mainstream thinkers, normies, people call them sometimes, they just think that the government is mostly good, people are mostly good, and that none of this stuff that we've been talking about tonight could have any merit to it. But what I'm really starting to think, the more and more that I dig and the more that I learn, the more I read, is that the permanent state, because I don't like the term deep state, that gives people conspiracy theory vibes, man. The permanent state is the unelected bureaucrats that get to stay in office no matter what. And they can be in office for 30, 40, 50 years even, if they get in when they're young enough. And they just bide their time. I'm not even talking about politicians. I'm talking about high people up in the CIA, and the FBI, and the DOJ, in the DOD, in all of these different places that really set policy. And they determine how things are going to actually work when it's the nuts and bolts of how things work on the ground. And so those are the people that run government. And so therefore, our intelligence agencies especially believe that they are the ones that are in charge, that their priorities and their narratives are the ones that run the world. And from my perspective, they're not wrong. And I think they all work together.
Right.
So when people get all bent out of shape, the type of people that are like, it's the Jews, man, those type of people, I'm not with that. I don't agree with that. But what I do think is that the Mossad and the CIA work hand in glove all the time. Mm-hmm. And if the Mossad has a priority of war with Iran, then the CIA has a priority of war with Iran.
Sure.
And so we've got to break that down. We definitely need a new church and what's the other guy? Church Commission. There's another guy that was another senator that was part of it. Church and Pike Commissions. I don't know if that's exactly what it was. I'm losing the name here. But that was in the late 60s, early 70s, I believe, that they were really putting the screws to the CIA and making them coming forth and be forthright with all the things that they were into. I just think they're so out of control. I mean, how does one explain Kash Patel saying the kinds of things that he said before he got to be the director of the FBI, and none of it happening? None of it.
Just a complete 180.
Complete. Just now, as soon as he's in charge,
saying that Epstein was never even guilty of trafficking anyone.
As soon as he's in charge, the FBI is now this great organization who's doing great work, and he has no bad things to say. And before he was in there, he was saying he was going to take the Hoover building and shut it down and make it a museum and send all the agents back out into the field and let them do real police work.
Adamantly, yeah.
Yeah, unequivocally. There was no sideways in that, but nothing like that has even come close to happening.
It's just so disappointing.
It is,
and it has to be for a lot of Trump voters. Just for me.
And in fact, I
never had any love for Donald Trump, but I just was so disenfranchised with the Obama administration.
Again, we have no good choices.
Right.
When it comes down to it, you can't vote for the insanity of the left, and you kind of have to be stuck with what happened with Trump, especially this time around when you had no libertarian candidate that was any good at all. I mean, I'm really hoping another positive thing that we could do at some point is work more towards a parliamentary system. Although that has its flaws, it allows for more parties to have a say. Yeah. And I just think that leads to less corruption.
Do you think it's possible to get rid of the two-party system?
Oh, it's more than possible. I mean, it's already kind of happened in our country before. I mean,
Right, but I mean, do you think in the future? Any near future?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it will happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I've been trying to say when I was outlining those differences. That
I hope so.
I think we're already on the precipice of that.
I truly hope so.
I hope they both go away.
Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of issues that majority of Americans agree on. You know, if we could get past this partisan garbage.
Yeah.
People wearing their team jersey and fighting like it's a sport.
Yeah.
It's no good because people agree on way more things than they would realize.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I don't know how much you would go with me on this one, but to me, if we could shut down about half of our military bases around the world and bring people home, we could probably have a form of universal health care that we could just pay for.
Well, I mean, I have no love for health insurance or the system that's at play right now. It's put me in the poorhouse most of my adult life. And, you know, military, I don't think most of it's necessary at the moment, but I mean, we do have that sense of security, and the infrastructure is already there. So if we would need to go back and do it again, it would cost a lot more money, right? But I agree with you. I mean,
I think we have 600 plus military bases around the world.
Yeah.
It would be
overkill.
If we knocked it down to 300, would that be a big problem?
I don't think so.
I mean, it would just cost us so much less. I mean, our military hasn't passed a budgetary audit in 15 years or so.
Yeah.
It's just a black hole for money.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why this. I've heard all the arguments are against universal health care on the other side of that coin, but it doesn't have to be any of the systems that other people or other countries around the world employ. We could have the same type of a system that we have now. It's just the government pays for it. You could also change things to where when doctors had outcomes that kept people out of their offices, they get certain kind of bonuses. You know?
Yeah.
And that by that I mean making people healthy should get them paid more. Your service should be more in demand if you're getting people healthy.
Right.
How do we get to actual health care rather than sick care? And all we seem to do now is treat people when they're deathly ill.
Yeah. And I mean that looks great on paper, but it's never really been done well.
It's never been done well, but I'm a bit of a radical when it comes to this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely should be something that we should get. I mean, I think it's a basic need.
There's lots of stuff that would have to be worked out. But in my mind, to my way of thinking, there's no excuse at all for us being the richest country in the world and also being one of the sickest countries in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, RFK is doing
and some people argue that, you know, the rich people can they can get their health care taken care of, but the poor people can't. That's not necessarily true, right? I mean,
Right now?
yeah, a lot of poor people just get it for free.
Yeah, but that's not the same because the poor people get the lowest end of the deal and they get state health care, which won't pay for anything.
And veterans and everything else. But
yeah, and rich folks...
just saying, it all kind of falls on the middle class to pay for it all.
In some ways. But rich folks can do what's called concierge health, which is kind of the system that I would hope that everybody would go to, which is you can get any kind of services that you want for the most part. I mean,
yeah.
Look, like things like this, for example. As we age, our eyes get all messed up. We have LASIK and we have lens replacement. Okay? Both of those things help people see a lot better. Why wouldn't we want that to be a service that anybody could just go get?
Sure.
Screenings should be free. I mean, all these kinds of things. Of course, there should be still absolutely some elective services that could be, paid for. But, I mean, there's no reason for us to be as rich as we are and have so many people who cannot get health care and can't go get what they need.
Yeah. An interesting thing, though, and I know a couple people that adhere to this way of thinking. They can't really send you to a creditor for health bills,
right,
for hospital bills and all that. I know some people that just have never paid hospital bills and never will. And I kind of love that because these hospitals and these insurance companies are just screwing people to the wall. And you can see that when you go to the hospital and you say, well, how much is it if I just pay cash? It's a tenth of what you would pay to the insurance company.
Insurance is a super scam.
That shouldn't be legal.
No.
And these insurance companies are some of the wealthiest companies in the world and just taking people to the bank.
Yeah, their whole thing is finding a way to say no.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're listening, just don't pay your hospital bills.
we didn't really
I'm starting to maybe adhere to that.
We didn't really talk about Tylenol.
No. I think that whole thing's pretty stupid, but
I do too. I mean, look, here's the deal. If you don't absolutely need a pharmaceutical intervention, don't take it.
I agree. I never do, and everybody gives me shit about it.
If you have a severe fever, take one, but understand the risks that you're taking.
Yeah.
With Tylenol, there's risk of liver issues, especially if you take it on a regular basis. It's well known and not disputed. Ibuprofen is a great fever reducer and anti-inflammatory. It wrecks your gut biome, and it filters through the kidneys. And if you have it in your system long term, it can really jack up your kidneys. Sean Elliott, former NBA basketball player, had to have a kidney removed because of ibuprofen use.
Oh, wow.
I did not know this. And when I was a young college basketball player, our athletic training staff was having us pop them down like candy all the time. Oh, take one. Take some more ibuprofen. Get some ibuprofen in your system. Through that and the reckless way that I was living otherwise, partying and drinking way too much, I wrecked my gut. And I had serious gut issues for years and years. And since I've stopped taking that ibuprofen almost at all, and I eat way more healthy, and I take probiotics, I don't have those gut issues anymore.
Yeah.
It's just we need to, from an way earlier age, start recognizing some of the ways that pharmaceuticals affect people. Can't wait till RFK gets rid of pharmaceutical ads.
Yeah, please.
I was watching a really cool show with my kids earlier called Special Forces. You ever seen that?
I don't think so.
It's awesome, dude. You should watch it with your kids because it's really awesome about human nature and what you can stand and how much more powerful your mind is than your body. And
I think I have seen.
It's really a cool show. We've watched. This is the fourth season coming up right now.
Okay.
Episode 1's out right now. We just watched it, but it's every single commercial in between those was a pharmaceutical commercial.
Yeah, it's really getting exhausting.
And my kids, I've talked to them about it enough now where they just giggle every time the list of side effects come up. They're just like, why would anybody take that stuff?
Yeah, exactly. At least, thank God, they have to mention all those side effects.
Yeah, and we briefly mentioned RFK. He was one of the reasons I voted for Trump. I was going to vote for Kennedy if he stayed in the race by himself. I really like what he's doing with HHS. Some people don't. They think he's anti-science. But look, one of the things that he does is he's way more careful with his words than Trump. Trump was very, very careless in the way that he talked about Tylenol. When RFK came in behind him, he was much more careful. And the only thing that he really advocates for is doing the science around it and running the placebo-based studies on all of it.
Yeah, and it irks me when people just go against what he's doing just because he's with Trump.
It's
or
that
just
partisan
because he's conservative. And
team jersey wearing.
It's so ridiculous, man. So what, you want your kids to have all these chemicals in their food that are proven to make you unhealthy, proven to cause cancer? That's bizarre.
Yeah. RFK and then Doge was the other one that I was excited about.
Yeah.
And it's actually still working behind the scenes a little bit, not nearly as prominent in the media since Elon stepped away, but it's actually still going on. Not that any of it's being codified by Congress, because those guys don't know how to do anything but spend more.
Yeah, and I mean, was anybody really held accountable for this stuff?
No.
See, and that's what bothers me. Why? We all saw it.
Well, this could be an episode in and of itself, but the whole NGO system is a mess. Non-governmental organizations.
Yeah.
I mean, most people know about the USAID controversy. I'm so glad they're gone. I'm sure they did some good work. I would say, in my estimation, it's probably 10 to 15% of what they did was good stuff around the world. But much of it was just a complete waste and a complete money laundering scheme to funnel money back into the Democratic Party when you follow the money. And if anybody has questions about that, you should look up Mike Benz on Twitter and look up any of his work where he really details that out. There's no way in the world that I could do it justice. Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z.
Yeah, and James Lee has gone pretty hard on all the California things that were set up for homeless people. It's going straight into their pockets and all these.
James Lee's awesome.
Yeah.
Nonpartisan. He just calls corruption out where he sees it. I think his show's called 5149.
Mm-hmm.
It's James L.I. Lee. Excellent reporter.
He's going pretty hard on Israel too nowadays, but
there are excellent reporters out there. I mean, we've named a couple. Michael Schellenberger's another one that's just awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Taibbi. I like Glenn Greenwald. But I don't trust any corporate news at all. Not the Washington Post, not the New York Times, none of them.
I task you guys, if you do watch Fox News or if you do watch MSNBC, to watch one of those one night and then the next night watch the other one and see how just totally opposite they are.
If you're gonna do that exercise, then go on and watch Breaking Points the next day. It's a YouTube show. I mean, they are they're not corporate affiliated in any way. And Sagar Enjeti is a conservative who grew up in College Station, and his mostly communistic co-host Crystal Ball, seriously, that's her name. She is very, very left-wing, and she admittedly calls herself almost near communist. But they call things out as they see them. They do get a little bit partisan here and there, but mostly they're working over the issues in a fairly free-thinking and non-corporate aligned way. And so if you contrast their show with either CNN or Fox, I don't know that you'll ever have the inclination to turn back on CNN or Fox unless you're a boomer and that's just how you function.
But I do think people would be genuinely shocked if they did that night after night to keep up with, each current event as it happens and watch both of them simultaneously. I mean, it shocked me when I first started doing that because I never really was a political guy at all. And I'm still not the most political guy, but I definitely want the truth.
Yeah, I was always kind of a news junkie, man. I always was thinking about it. I'm not quite sure why. Sometimes I think it's because my grandparents' last name was Israel, and so sitting in church as a kid, looking in the maps, I would start to really explore that way. And also just kind of the way my brain functions. I'm kind of a map maker. I kind of map things out as I go. It's the way my brain categorizes things. And so, especially geopolitics, things outside of our country have always interested me. but we don't get much of that news. Most of what we get in these, especially in the cable news setting, is culture war crap.
All negative. All terrifying.
Hey, but if we want to get back to the good news, like I've been trying to circle back and failing miserably, the good news is that the movement that Charlie Kirk started was really affecting the youth and pulling them towards Christ, our Lord Jesus.
That really is a great thing to see.
Absolutely. And the youth is, the younger generation is turning back towards God and coming back to church in pretty significant numbers. That's pretty universal around, but even in our local little world here, the youth that come to our church on Wednesday nights is growing leaps and bounds, and most of those kids that are junior high and high school age their parents don't go to our church. They're just being invited by their friends. And our college ministry is consistently in the 40 and 50 range, and that's only a 3-year-old ministry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's really representative of, people, especially people without much of a worldview, just don't like hate. Period. And they see certain people behaving a certain way, and they say, I'm not going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to maybe look into this Charlie Kirk guy and see what he was all about. And he was all about his faith, first and foremost. So,
yeah, a lot of the stuff on the left comes back as hateful. I would definitely say that is true.
Well, yeah, and I'm not attacking the left per se. I'm attacking the people that came out and celebrated his death.
Yeah.
These young kids are seeing that, and they're like, wow, what's wrong with these people?
But, we can talk about all these things. We can talk about all the issues that are going on. But if we really want to make a difference for the good, what were we told to do by Jesus himself? Is disciple the nations. We're supposed to go out and we're supposed to make disciples on an individual level and on a larger level as well. And I know that that's something that I try to do, not necessarily always with words, but with just action. Just try to love people the best that I can, especially in my circle.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that the world changes in a positive way is by being the light in our circle to the people that we come into contact with.
I think you hit it on the head there, though. The actions are way more important because you can say whatever you want to say, but if you don't follow that and you don't do it, people just dismiss you, what you believe, what you stand for.
Yeah, the people that need us the most are the ones that are caught up in a life of drug and alcohol abuse, or are caught up as a single mother with several kids and not knowing how they're going to pay the bills, and old people who have no family left, who are struggling to have social interactions and just need people to be around. I mean, those are the types of people that need us the most when it comes to being the salt and light that we're called to be.
That's right, man. And I promise you guys, it's not going to hurt you to help somebody.
Definitely not. Be kind to people. Smile at somebody in the grocery store when you go there. That's another point that I made to one of my friends who was talking about race. It's a point that I try to make is when I go walking down the aisle in H-E-B and I catch a look of maybe a black person that thinks maybe, ooh, this white guy might be a racist. If I ever catch that look, the very first thing that I do is like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And I just try to engage them directly, put a smile on my face, and just make sure that they realize that there's no animosity coming from me.
Yeah.
So, I think we covered a lot of ground there tonight, Mike.
For sure.
Hey, if you guys have comments, let us know. Put a comment on our channel. Send us a message directly if you know us. We're going to start doing some other types of shows, some interviews probably here pretty soon. Might be just doing some little individual things as well, but we're going to try and pick it up. So if you enjoy this, please share it, like our channel, like the video, subscribe. All that stuff's great. And we hope we're doing something that's entertaining and worth your time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It means a lot. And if you could, like Josh said, leave a like or comment. We just would love to hear some feedback. And if you have problems that you need solved, Josh's cell phone number is... Just kidding.
I definitely can't solve them all, that's for sure.
No. But we are approachable, man. Calls. Well, don't call us, but send us a message, whatever.
Yeah, hit us up on social if you have it, and if you
Yeah.
have our direct lines, that's fine too. But we're definitely not going to broadcast them out.
Yeah, that was a joke. I took it too far. But we do appreciate you guys listening. Hope
All
you
right,
enjoyed what you're hearing.
Thanks
And,
for checking in against the grain.
We will be back soon. I have Round Top coming up, so I might be out of commission for a couple weeks. I don't know if Josh is going to maybe do one or two on his own, but
there'll be something coming.
Yeah, good. We promise we won't wait 3 more weeks for another one.
All right. Thanks for listening.